Greetings, my dear friends. Today, I would like to tell you about an exceptionally important period that has been remembered and used since ancient times by our ancestors who practiced Christianity, the Great Lent. I will tell you things that few people know and how this period significantly influences our lives. How we can use the forces of nature during this period for self-renewal and arrival into our lives. A certain phenomenal life plan occurs for us if we are ready for it. And what is a phenomenal life plan? It's when life itself begins to unfold in the most incredible, amazing, miraculous, and various ways. And for this, we need just a couple of things which I will mention a bit later. And if you are ready for the amazing discoveries that I will make for you right now, based on my knowledge of the phenomenon of nature, life, philosophical religious traditions, laws of the universe, physics, chemistry, biochemistry, cosmology, quantum mechanics, and other unique things, which, when combined together, we can understand how life works, then be sure to put under this video. And yes, pause me for a moment. Pour yourself a delicious herbal tea or any other warm drink. Relax and enjoy our conversation together. I suggest you don't analyze anything. Remove the barrier that appears right here at the forehead level when we try to delve into what's being said, and just let in the unique information that I'm ready to share with you. It is unique because it has absolutely solid moral foundations and is a serious experience with a large amount of social proof, showing how just 40 days a year can change our lives once and for all. And yes, today we will also touch upon the period that begins this year on March the 18th. March 18th. This period is also special. It is part of the 40-day cycle of the period of Great Lent, and one is the essence of the other. That is, there is the egg of life, which has a white and a yolk. The inner period, from the 9th to the 18th, will be the yolk. Everything else is the white. The chick will appear on Sunday when it's time to celebrate the appearance of Christ. I want to note that I am not so much a Christian, or perhaps not a Christian at all, but rather a person who understands that all traditions and rituals are not without reason. They are our ancestral heritage, who knew about the laws of nature and used them correctly. Let's follow their example and do everything necessary so that this amazing period of 40 days brings into our lives everything that is important for us to gain as life experience, as knowledge of how much we can be brilliant, versatile, phenomenal, unique, divine. Let's allow ourselves to go through a period of unveiling, a period of purification, a period of inner rebirth, a reboot of the system, which will essentially lead to a change in the very fact of life and external plans, which will inform us that by changing internally, we receive an external result as a window of opportunity. And I'll start, perhaps with a personal story, because one's own example is the most valuable example. And if you don't have your own experience, how can you convince someone that it is possible in their life. About 12 years ago, I began to actively and diligently study various fields of modern science, combining them with philosophy and the religious foundations of my life. Every day I spent 6, 7, 8 hours on these studies trying to understand the causes of my life problems. And at that time, I had plenty of problems in my life. On my research, in which I tried to understand the foundations of the universe and the laws of life and the principles of management life. It took about 7 years. In 7 years, I gained tremendous experience and very serious internal knowledge on how to make all the forces of nature and the cosmos help you change your life dynamically, allowing you to renew your reality to the fullest every year. And 5 years ago, I came to the internet, to social networks, to tell people how it works. Exactly 5 years ago, I launched a marathon called Energetic Transurfing. It was synchronized with the Christian fast, because by that time I had already been using this tool for several years to enhance the level and quality of my life, on the level of the soul, on the level of the body, meaning health, and on the level of material opportunities, which arise externally only when we bring order internally. At that time I had no audience except for a few dozen subscribers who were ready to collaborate with me in this process, and a few hundred subscribers observing this process. 500 people on the banned social network Instagram participated in this process, which brought me here to this conversation, which we are having right now. I am speaking and you are listening. Every year, using this period and helping other people to master it within the framework of processes that I call self-discovery. I achieved my own results and observed the results of people who followed my recommendations and achieved their life results. And those who followed the recommendations fully received dynamic and quick results. Those who followed partially received results not as objective or desired. Those who did not follow at all, due to the selectivity of the mind and unwillingness to experiment, remained where they were, and trying to change their life. By doing things the same way, they ended up where they started. I call this kind of movement through life chasing one's tail. To avoid chasing your tail, not getting stuck in the same problems, in the same tasks, in the same reality, it is very important to understand that our life is arranged in such a way that we can move through it in 2 ways. The first way is when we ourselves know how to do it. When we have a specific plan for the future and clear actions that we take to achieve any goal we are moving towards. Moreover, these actions are part of the daily routine in which we interact at the level of our work or business, at the level of relationships, with a partner, with family, with colleagues, friends, the world as a whole, and with ourselves in the same way. We do the same things, with the same mood, in the same state. We think the same thoughts, react in the same way to what happens, and each time hope that something will change. But it doesn't work that way, that the same speed. The same step size, the same movement in the same direction leads to something different. Similarly, it makes sense for us to understand that what we know about life and how to do it. can only lead us to where we have already been. That is, our past becomes the future. Exactly when we begin to realize the form of previous thoughts, states, and efforts, right here in the present. And by the principle of you reap what you sow, we arrive at our uniquely repetitive future. And this life strategy is used by most people. Simply because they don't know how to do it differently, they don't know that there is actually a more phenomenal path, more unique and more resourceful. When you don't carve out a path for yourself, don't fight for life, don't try to achieve anything, don't rush anywhere, don't run anywhere, but simply wake up and live within the framework of the request to gain experience in your life, which is a priority for you. What is gaining experience? It's when we don't want to buy a car. For example, a Jiguli or Volkswagen or Mercedes of a certain color or a certain brand. But when we want to gain the experience of materializing this car in our life in the highest way, that is when I want to buy a car of a certain brand, then my plan of understanding how it should be is realized. I need the money that I will pay for this car to get it. And to have the money, I need to go and earn it. And how can I earn money? Well, like this, like that, and like this. Or I can take a loan, then earn the money and pay it back. And some other understandable methods are realized in this case. That is, when I want to buy something, achieve something, or reach something, a behavior that is understandable to me, which was instilled in me during childhood, is realized in my life. If you want something, get off your butt, go, and start doing something. And you will definitely get it if you are hardworking, diligent, if you learn to push yourself and earn money, learn to deny yourself in something, and so on. And this human principle of realizing what is intended is understandable to us because we have lived this way since early childhood, as soon as we began to become self-aware. As Freud said, the basic sexual behavior is to flee from a lack of something, from an internal deficit, to a state of fullness, that is, when you get what you desire. This desired thing fills you with a sense of joy and pleasure that you possess it, and this can be food, that you want to eat, clothes that you want to wear, a roof over your head that you need, whether it's your own or rented, and so on. That is, we move from a state of I don't have to a state of I have. Well, here's the catch. If we look at the laws of the universe, we will find out that you cannot move from a state of emptiness, that is, I don't have, and go to get something. I mean, if I go to a store without money, will they give me anything? No. If I come without a good credit history or without information about my income, will they give me anything? If I want to take out a loan, no. If I don't have the energy to go somewhere, can I go anywhere? No. So it's clear why not, because if look at our universe, how it is structured, our galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, we will see that everything is based on just two things, plus and minus. Where plus is where there is something, that is, there is energy that is ready to move. By the mechanism of transformation, first energy, then chemistry, then physics, dense things. And so, when energy moves to where there is no energy, to the minus, that the plus, or gives energy to the minus, the plus itself becomes a minus, and the minus becomes a plus. And this movement is cyclical, it never ends. Thanks to this movement, all our batteries work. The planet Earth itself works as a battery. It has a core, a positive pole, and a negative pole. And this creates a certain electromagnetic activity inside the planetary sphere and outside electromagnetic poles, which we call the atmosphere, in the bubble of which we live. And if this movement did not exist, we would not have a resonant frequency cause of noise, and we would not be able to live for an hour. If this electromagnetic fundamental activity of planet Earth were turned off, and all living things would perish instantly. Just instantly. That is, life is insured from something that exists to that, where there is none. This is called the law of entropy, or the law of communicating. Vessels, a pool with more water, will inevitably give some of its water to a pool with less water, and harmony and balance will arise. In your life, when you go somewhere, you do not go from a state of deficiency. As modern marketing suggests to you, you go simply for the feeling of self-satisfaction, which arises when you carry something somewhere, place something somewhere, and in return you receive a life. Reward in the form of your life. Result. Now let's consider what we carry and what we place. And here everything becomes even more interesting. The same people performing the same life actions have different results. Physical effort, the same, but the results are different. Attention, question. Why? Because according to the law of physics, dense things' mass consist of energy and information. Information is the basis of dense things. It is the structure, it is the system thanks to which a dense thing arises. And the density of the thing itself is an energy cluster that holds in its electromagnetic spectrum, in its electromagnetic field, like planet Earth, the mass, the capacity it has gathered around itself. According to the algorithm recorded in the informational code, we can observe the manifestation of such things in nature, literally every day in your home or on the street when spring arrives. A seed is information. A tiny, tiny seed is densely packed information about what kind of bush or tree will grow from it, which we are about to plant, or maybe a carrot. The seed carries all the information, another form of dense matter. And when we plant the seed in the ground, the earth gives the seed energy, which helps the seed first to germinate, to create a root system, and then to sprout into the outside world. Outside, energy is provided by the sun, energy is provided by the moon. And the totality of these energies and the biochemical composition of Earth. Cover allows the seed to grow into what is embedded in its seed as a future plant, with the entire history of how it will grow, how it will nourish itself, how it will develop its root and external system. It might be the crown of a tree, how the fruits will appear, all the information, the entire history of how this will happen. And the only thing that can prevent the seed from growing is external circumstances that will affect the growth of the seed, its manifestation, in one way or another externally, and the seed manifesting already as a plant will adapt to these conditions, thereby changing as a form of consciousness, when the seed grows, and it will form another seed to continue itself. In that seed, information will be recorded in addition to what was embedded in the previous seed about how this environment affects the seed like this, and that here you need to behave like this. That is, the seed generates a plant. The plant generates a seed in the process of the plant's manifestation, the development of this plant. Information is formed within the plant about the environment in which the seed grows. This appears as a genetic record within the seed itself, allowing the seed to be more adapted to the environment in which it continues itself through self-seeding, through self-manifestation. Simple mechanisms, understandable results, and most importantly, obvious things that manifest around us every day. We can use in our lives because everything is arranged by self-similarity. We are the same seed, which once, the sperm, yes, ended up in the egg and began to germinate through the mother's body. And here we are as information. Nourished by mother's energy, mother's biochemistry, came into the world in the form that evolved from a gastrula, a cluster of cells, to the most complex human organism, passing through several evolutionary stages of transformation. There was a little worm, a reptile with a tail, then a mammal with a tail, and so on. And so we came into the world and began to grow and develop in this amazing external environment, which provides us with energy for growth and development. The earth gives us energy. The external environment provides energy. We gather additional information which affects the recording in our genetic codes. It influences our behavior, our attitude towards life. And we remember this behavior and pass it on to our descendants, teaching them how to behave in the surrounding world, in the environment we understand. And it's clear that wherever we go, we bring only what is inside us. Therefore, when the same people, seemingly similar to each other, externally people go and start doing something under the same conditions, some succeed better, some worse. Some reach great heights in self-realization, while others achieve nothing, simply because they lack something. They lack awareness, diligence, and an understanding of what should be done and what should not be done. Because analysis is not engaged, because the person does not explore the nature of life, because the person does not try to understand cause and effect relationships. Because they were raised that way, because they were taught to look for external obstacles and explain why you cannot overcome them, instead of going beyond learned helplessness to start exploring life and doing things differently. And this doing things differently is the second way of how it would be great to use your life at the level of the colossal resources that life offers us. So let's go over it again. The first way is how we know, how we can, how we understand, with all our attitudes and behaviors. Our relationships are energy, behavior is information, energy, information, it's the seed and the environment. When we perform a mechanical action and send our energy, our thoughts there, we can do something while thinking about something else. Yes, the head is separate, the body is separate, then everything we think about is invested in our mechanical effort. This mechanical effort becomes a fruit in the long run, manifesting in our reality as our life reality. And we don't understand where the problems in our life come from. We think that we are very conscientious, very honest, very hardworking, that we do so much and receive so little, while someone else does little and has a lot. It's just about relationships and what we carry within ourselves in our efforts external. It appears to us as a mirror of our inner world and in a much greater form than what we send out into the external world through ourselves. Because the fruit is always greater than the seed. This news is good because we can plant different seeds in our lives, but we must know that a thistle seed will never produce a watermelon. Therefore, if we want to achieve different life results, we need to understand that a different outcome can only be achieved by a different method. And our ancestors also knew this different method. If we now delve a little into the history, not only of the Slavic people, we can take the history of any other people and go back to those times when people were guided by divine presence. Then we will learn that any undertaking our ancestors began with the name of God as their guide. If they went to work, God went ahead. If they went to pray, God went ahead. If they went to fight, God went ahead. All deeds were done in the name of God. And this was what allowed within them to manifest a completely different form of consciousness, more resourceful, more productive, more natural for a human being rather than what we are doing now. And when we understand that the entire life plan happening around us occurs according to certain laws, it happens because there is something much more objective, much more intelligent than what we understand as the form of a human. After all, we are only the pinnacle of evolution of biological species on Earth. This does not mean that we are the most intelligent being in our universe. This does not mean that we control this universe. If we now detach a little from Earth and move to the level of the galaxy, at least the galaxy, with our consciousness, we will see that Earth is very small, and we are even much smaller than the planet Earth. And it would be strange to think that everything happening around us is a completely spontaneous process. It would be strange to think that it is without any regularity. It would be strange to think that it occurs on its own in a detached, chaotic, and uncontrolled manner. Try sitting behind the wheel of a car and pressing the gas, letting go of the wheel, and see what happens. Try get behind the wheel of an airplane, turn off the autopilot, and trying to take off with the controls. Try not controlling your body, not giving it commands. Try to act as if you are, not trying to initiate anything within your body. Not giving it the chance to understand what you want right now. And see what comes of it. Try somewhere to find something that exists without internal control, without information that stimulates the field. Try growing a carrot without a seed. Try growing a seed without soil, without water, without any energy that nurtures the seed. Try to test the phenomenon of the absence of control, information, and energy in your life, and you will understand that it is unrealistic, it is impossible. therefore agreeing that the phenomenal plan, the divine plan, as it is realized on our planet, in our life, in our universe, is the only thing that truly exists, where we, created in the image and likeness, have the only thing we have, which is the choice to live at the level of our understanding of life and at the level of the divine plan. Either or. Where is our understanding? It is a limited circle of possibilities of influence within the permission that God gives us for a specific life. And if we act foolishly and do some stupid things, if we are unreasonable, then obstacles arise in life. If we do not understand that life obstacles are merely our own foolishness, our inadequacy that we project into the external world, and the world responds to us in the same way, then we can experience an effect, a specific physical direct halt to our self-expression at the level of a broken body. This is illness. This is the limitation of the body's movement when the body stops executing our will. When it refuses to perform the foolishness, we impose on it every day. After all, illness is nothing more than an attempt to stop us in our own foolishness. Partial stop or complete stop, death. But in any case, in the divine phenomenal plan, there is also a part of our self-realization where we express our individuality, like children who have just turned 3 years old. We say, we can do everything ourselves and we know everything ourselves. And this behavior was suggested to us to use at the beginning of the 20th century, when the Soviet power came to power in our country to manage the system, and it said that man is the pinnacle. Consciousness, no, and it is very important for a person to know oneself in one's entirety, and faith in God only hinders this. Well, yes, for a 3-year-old child, it is very important to know oneself in one's entirety, and faith in parents is somewhat pushed to the background here, so that the child can understand their strength, their capabilities, and their limitations as well. And then again, trust their parents in order to move forward. So we have come to a period where it is very important to trust divine guidance. It is very important to understand that if we want to get out of the wonderful situation we are currently in, it is crucial to stop doing things the way we always have, and give space in our lives for divine providence. And this can be done in several ways. But the first thing we need to do is cleanse ourselves of all those layers that have formed as consciousness, worldview, perception of the world, and self-perception in our specific life over a specific period. That is for the entire time we have lived on planet Earth. And this is precisely what fasting is for. And in the peasant tradition, it's simply abstaining from certain foods and possibly giving up bad habits, alcohol, cigarettes, harmful information that we consume, and which undoubtedly changes us immediately. We never remain the same. It's an immersion into oneself, more prayers, more effort, focusing on the inner world. And here, yes, at this level of the process, we can achieve biological cleansing, and as a result, biochemical cleansing, and consequently a cleansing of our state, more lightness, more resourcefulness, and the ability to enter the productive, active life process that follows the fast, along with nature's activity. Nature itself enters an active, productive spring phase to gain the strength of nature in this cooperation. But from my experience, I know that observing the fast is not enough, because the fast itself implies a process of self-exploration, self-actualization, and internal changes at the level of the spiritual body, mental body, emotional body. And accordingly, the astral body and the physical body. And to initiate all these processes, one can use only part of the efforts, or one can use a whole spectrum of efforts. Moreover, entering this process, it makes sense to form a certain request for a phenomenal experience. I want to gain the experience of this or that. I want to gain the experience of creation in my life, creation, not buying a car, creation in my life of a family nest, for example, creation in my life of a new profession. What profession? This kind of profession. I want to gain the experience of creation in my life. Anything at all. Everything you want will start happening right away, as soon as you desire it. Your task is simply to enter this process through the so-called tool of surrender, where you let go of personal plans, of a specific understanding of how you intend to do it. But you wake up every day and participate in everything that life offers you. That is, there are familiar efforts for you. For example, you go to work or engage in your business. But suddenly, interesting events start happening in your life that are different from what you are used to, and understand your usual plans are disrupted. Yes, people burst in, ask for something, give advice, or invite you somewhere. And you have an option. You can either follow your usual plan or respond to the phenomenal divine plan that assists you to move into a different form of self-realization, self-discovery, self-expression. That is, the very environment of your reality begins to change according to your request. And since we have come to a time when everything is realized very quickly, realized so quickly that we do not have time to comprehend it, it would be great for us to follow the paths that are laid out for us, just like a seed that has been planted in the ground. It is unlikely to resist sprouting if the earth gives it the strength and the sun warms the earth to pull the seed out of the darkness. It's foolish to resist this process. It would be great to cooperate with it. And the most resourceful processes, that is, the power needed for self-expression, purification, unveiling, and internal transformation, which will lead to external life transformation, will occur precisely from the 9th to the 18th of March. And during this period, we, with you, on one hand will be experiencing perhaps not the simplest states, but on the other hand, we will be releasing internal resources to complete the 40-day run in the form of an energy transformation, in the form of energy transferring in the most interesting way. And 5 years ago, I gave basic recommendations to those who followed me, which I always provide. What to do? I showed how to do it. Yea. Not only provided certain spiritual practices and set specific tasks every day, but also offered support. To the participants of Transurfing in this journey, at that time I warned them, I don't know where we will end up. I don't know what life will offer us, but we will need to participate in everything that is offered. Because if we have a request, that request will definitely be fulfilled, and we will be led to the path that is the shortest. At the end of this process, only one person remained with me. At the start, there were about 12. This is precisely about when we embark on this most unique journey, which is, on one hand, our intention, and on the other hand, leads us along the path of the highest purpose, where we go beyond our own veils and limitations. We are not always ready to step out. into the light and manifest as we truly are, not as we are accustomed to perceiving ourselves, and, of course, without a guide. In this story, it's difficult to succeed, because having the skill of self-expression means being able to walk the short paths laid by God and simply participate in this process. And then we expend minimal energy on self-realization and achieve our maximum results. I am the most worthy example of this. In 5 years of using this system, I gained an enormous experience in relationships with several million people living in different countries. Gained experience in traveling and exploring sacred places. Gained experience in imparting knowledge, which is presented in more than 70 educational courses. Gained experience in communicating with masters of a very high level and with incredible people I meet in every country I visit. Gained experience in forming the right intention and achieving the highest result at every stage of the journey. And looking back, I am very surprised by what has happened through me. And I wouldn't say that all of this happened because of me. I only co-participated in what is happening, making my minimal contribution like a seed that emerges from the earth and puts in very little effort to be manifested, to grow, and self-create, self-manifest thanks to the forces of nature and the cosmos. Do you want to walk the path that for you? God has already laid out formed by higher forces. Do you want to understand this phenomenal plan and receive the support of the Mother, Earth, and Nature? Join our exciting journey that we are undertaking together on our private Telegram channel with an international community. I will leave the link to it in the description of this video. There you will receive more than 70 tools of various levels for complete beginners and for more advanced users. Explorers of their own lives, and you will also receive all the necessary daily recommendations for navigating this amazing period of self-purification, self-transformation, and unveiling that is already taking strides across planet Earth. And it would be great to join this flow, no matter what stage you are at right now. And it doesn't even matter what the date is now, if the process is still ongoing, if March 19th, 2025 hasn't arrived yet. It would be great if you could make use of the time that remains, because we receive information in our lives when it is needed by us. Information, another form of the dense world. If we accept it as a gift with gratitude and grab onto it like a thread that will lead us to where we need to go. If we do not deny opportunities, do not reject them, but use them, then life is very favorable to us. It responds very quickly to our participation, and the reality we live in changes very quickly. We enter each day as our own reality, because when we change inside, everything changes outside. I invite you now to take advantage of my offer. And for this, simply go to the description of this video and join our energy transurfing. Love you.